everyone, and welcome back to Miss Azrael's Gaming. So today we're going to get back into the infectious madness of Dr. Dekker, and we are going to be starting out on Act 3.
David Hunt.
I can change my skin.
Then skins.
Dr. Dekker dated his patients.
I had a hot date.
We went out for drinks.
I took photos of Jessica.
Dr. Dekker did phone
On Valentine's Day.
and ask me for Nathan's number. There was a girl there.
Am I wrong to keep the locket?
I'm allowed to talk to her, aren't I? He was preoccupied with finding
Photographs.
patterns.
Rocking chair.
I haven't been back to the beach since
I had a bit of a shaky loop incident.
where I find something
I set fire
beautiful in the sea.
to Hannah's clothes in the garden. I dug the grave.
I wish I'd said goodbye.
Dr. Dekker cursed me.
It didn't weigh enough to have a body in it.
Alright, so let's see. The arrest report says Claire killed David. I've underlined some things to ask her about. I wonder if Bryce buried David. What happened with Ben? Ask patients about the paper spike. Too much to do today. Okay, and then we also have the crime scene report, which is from February 14th, 2017. Title is Doctor, first name unknown, last name Dekker. The victim was located in his office, seated on a chair behind the desk, soaked in blood, with an obvious chest wound. The possible murder weapons is a paper spike desk accessory, 150 millimeter long, protruding from the approximate region of the victim's heart. Coroner's initial findings: time of death was estimated from liver temperature measurements to be between 8:30 and 10:30 p.m. on 2/14/2017. Note the victim's body was reportedly discovered at 10:20 p.m. on 2/14/2017. Cause of death: exsanguination due to punctuation of the left artery, descending coronary artery. Death would have occurred within minutes of, and I can't read the rest of it. And then we have Claire's arrest report. So Christian Weber, police officer 7691, to the best of my knowledge, this statement is true. I understand I may be prosecuted if I have stated anything that I know to be untrue. So November 9th, at 20:40 hours on Tuesday 18th November, myself, MPC 9725 Holt, responded to a call received from a neighbor of the Bauer House, Weston Park Avenue, concerning a reported disturbance. We arrived at the address and knocked on the front door, but there was no reply. When we examined the rear of the property and gained entry through an insecure patio doors, we entered the property through this door, and I announced myself by shouting police, but did not hear any response. We searched the premises. Upon entering the dining room, I saw a female seated next to a man who was laying on the ground. The man did not appear to be conscious. Both persons were drenched in blood, and there was a substantial amount of blood on the carpet, walls, and furniture. I noted what appeared to be a steak knife on the floor, which was also covered in blood. At this point, I asked the woman to put her hands on her head, which she did. PC Holt secured the female while I checked the man for signs of life, but found none. I asked the woman her name, and she identified herself to me as Claire Castleford. I asked if she knew the dead man, and she said he was her husband, David Castleford. I asked what had happened, and she said that she had killed him. Following a search by PC Holt, which revealed no other persons present at the house, I said to Castleford at 25:52 hours, "You are under arrest on suspicion of murder." I then cautioned her and placed her in the back of the police car for transportation to Weston Park Police Station, where I relayed the circumstances of the arrest to PC 2354 Hill, who authorized her, and then that's all I can read from that. Okay, so that's everything we have right now. So, let's see, who should we start with? Let's see who we've got today. We've got Claire, Bryce, Jaya, Professor Warwick, he's new. Nathan, Mariana, Eileen. Let's start with Professor Warwick. So, who are you?
Professor Warwick, I'm a physicist. Where's Dr. Dekker?
Dekker is dead.
Is he really? Actually dead? Not a worthy adversary after all, then?
Dekker was your adversary.
Dr. Dekker challenged me. He tried to use my theories against me. Quantum theories.
What theories?
Do you really want to know? Dekker's eyes used to glaze over whenever we talked about that. He didn't believe in quantum physics. As if it's something that you can optionally believe in. Well, it started with an experiment.
What was the experiment?
Have you heard of quantum suicide, Doctor?
Yes, I've heard of quantum suicide. No, I haven't heard of quantum suicide. No, I have not heard of quantum suicide.
Quantum suicide is a thought experiment that tries to explain the many worlds theory. You're looking at me blankly. I can see that you don't understand. I knew you wouldn't. Alternate universes. Essentially, if I were to shoot myself, then in some alternate universe, I'd still be alive. Now imagine if I could actually choose that universe. I'm taking a product off a supermarket shelf. Well, I simply applied that logic to something different.
What did you apply that logic to?
Gambling. I set up an experiment whereby I would visit a casino and place a very large bet at the roulette. Now, I would always bet on odd. Now, the results of this particular experiment were mundane. I won as many times as you'd expect according to the laws of probability. But then, I changed a parameter.
Why gambling?
Why not gambling? My wife, Vanessa, left me for a neurosurgeon. She emptied our entire combined wealth into her barrister's wallet. I needed more money. Physics provided me with a solution.
Tell me about your wife.
We were married for 14 years, 7 months, and 3 days. Vanessa couldn't have children. At least that's what she told me. She grounded me in reality. I'm not complaining. It's probably what I needed. Part of me always thought one day achieve immortality through science. It wasn't to be, though.
Did it bother you that you couldn't have children?
Well, yes, it bothered me. Especially now that I find out that she's pregnant. Oh, no, it wasn't a rocket scientist that was required, but a brain surgeon, it seems. I have considered putting that neurosurgeon into his darkest timeline. But I'm but a killer, it would seem.
What parameter did you change?
Quantum suicide required a loss of life to make it a realistic thought experiment. So I simply upped the stakes. Every time I bet on odd, I would place everything I had on that one spin of the wheel, and it worked. For a while.
Why did the experiment stop working?
Dr. Dekker killed it, and I can't get it back.
What did Dekker kill?
Well, my theory, quantum gambling. If the stakes are high enough, you will win every time by simply shifting your consciousness into that branch that wins. It's tricky, but it can be done. Dr. Dekker didn't like that. He saw me becoming rich and powerful, and he hated that. That's why he proffered the hangman's paradox.
What's the hangman's paradox?
Well, imagine a judge sentences you to death. Now, it will be Monday or Tuesday next week, but it will be a surprise. Which day do you think you'll be executed?
Monday.
Well, Monday does seem likely, yes. Because if you're still alive on Monday at midnight, then Tuesday won't be a surprise. But if you're sure that it's Monday, then that won't be a surprise either, will it? Dekker tricked me.
How did Dekker trick you?
He told me that sometime in the future I would lose a bet, that I would lose all of my money. Now, this didn't seem likely because I had quantum gambling on my side and it was working. But he unnerved me. He made me doubt myself. And then it happened. Recently, I lost everything that I'd managed to build up since Vanessa left me.
Why would Dekker hate you becoming rich and powerful?
Honestly? Well, I think he feared quantum physics. He didn't like things being explained in terms of science. Almost as if he'd have preferred chaos.
What were you doing on Valentine's night?
I was at a fundraiser for a charity called Mind Stretch Outreach. Don't know how I got roped into that, I can't remember. But it was full of very clever children with bizarre outlooks on life. And Jaya. It was Jaya who asked me to go.
What's Mindstretch Outreach?
He's full of poor kids with very capable minds. I did give them a talk on quantum tunneling once, and they loved it. Not sure it'll put dinner on the table for any of them, though.
What's quantum tunneling?
Oh, you're going to have to Google that, Doctor, I'm afraid. I'm not a walking Wikipedia. I'd love to tell you, but I am paying you by the hour. Maybe look up Schrodinger's cat whilst you're there.
Maybe you just don't know. Ever think of that? How well do you know Jaya?
Oh, she's Dr. Dekker's lovely assistant. I imagine she's your lovely assistant now. Yeah, she always smiles and makes me a cup of tea before a session. Smile. Which reminds me, my session. Can we talk about my problem now?
Yes, let's talk about your problem.
I'm not a gambler, Doctor. I'm a scientist. I need more money. It's true I've run out of money for my research. An opportunity has arisen.
What research?
Quantum gambling. It's a pet project. It's got nothing to do with work. But if I don't have significant amounts of money to lose, then there won't be enough jeopardy for the experiment to work.
Let's do this one. Who do you work for?
Well, the Ministry of Defense, of course. Guns aren't going to win the next war. Quantum physics is.
What opportunity has arisen?
A very wealthy group of individuals have offered to pay me a very large sum of money if I attend their next private soiree. They don't want to talk or anything like that. They want a practical demonstration.
What sort of practical demonstration?
They'll pay me £1 million if I can successfully survive 6 rounds of Russian roulette. Now, I am worried because of what Dr. Dekker said, but, well, can't help but thinking that the stakes are so high I can't possibly lose.
Sounds like a stupid idea.
What do you think, Doctor? Should I take them up on their offer?
No, don't take the offer.
No, I suppose you're right. In a darker timeline, you probably said yes, and I'm dead now. I earn good money where I work. How do I stop losing it?
Stop gambling.
I take your point. But I suppose to decide whether to continue gambling or to stop gambling is a gamble within itself, isn't it? Well, my time is up. No. Infectious.
Oh, that was a bad lag spike. That was a really bad one. Alright, so let's talk to Bryce. How are you today?
Hello, Doctor. I've been thinking about our last session, and I just wanted you to know that I'm not a bad person. I know taking naked photographs is wrong.
It's more
But
than
you don't know
wrong.
what it's like until you face the same temptation.
Yeah, wouldn't do it.
I'm assuming you don't know what it's like. Do you have an extra hour, Doctor?
I really want to say yes. Yes, I have an extra hour.
You're playing games with me, Doctor. I was going to tell you what I know about the murder weapon, but now, well, now you just have to go without.
Tell me about the murder weapon.
I overheard your assistant earlier. I know about that paper spike. It was sharp. What I really wanted to tell you was, there's someone else in my hour. A hooded figure. Watching me and following me. I followed it too.
Tell me about the paper spike.
Dr. Dekker frequently used that paper spike on his desk as an example. I'm sure he did it with the other patients too. He'd make me look at it, touch the point to see how sharp it was. He'd tell me that because I think it's sharp, it will hurt me. But if I thought it was nothing, it could pass right through my hand.
Who's the hooded figure?
I don't know who it is. My initial thought was that it was you. That I told you about my affliction and somehow you'd got it too. Now I think maybe it's the military or some organization that wants to use the hour themselves. Maybe it's Dr. Dekker risen from the dead. I need to talk to you about him.
Why would the military be following you?
I'm surprised I haven't been approached earlier. I mean, my skills in the military. Special ops would be a breeze, wouldn't it? Waltz in past everyone during the midnight hour, get whatever you want, and return to friendly soil. It also makes me think that they might already know all of that, and that they want to get rid of me in case I tell anyone else. Would you do something for me if they get me?
Yes, I'll do something to you. No, I won't do something for you. Yes, I'll do something for you.
Would you tell Jessica I love her? She didn't really know me that well, but I did love her. And also, there's a hard drive in the bottom drawer of my drinks cabinet. Please destroy it. Please, don't look at it.
God, I don't even want to know what he has on it. What else can you tell me about Dekker?
I spied on Dr. Dekker, not long before he was murdered. I'm not sure I should tell you what I saw in his basement.
What did you see in the basement?
I'd been feeling uneasy with Dr. Dekker for some time. I mentioned how he'd changed before, so I began spying on him at home. One night, the basement door was open, and Dekker was returning upstairs. I skipped past him, and there she was, a girl. It was difficult to tell. It was dark, and she was chained.
What did you do with the chained girl?
I removed the chains, dressed her, and sat her in the police station. There's no evidence, though. No evidence of what he'd done. But she was free. I saved her. I'm not evil. I destroyed evil.
You're still evil. Okay, so Bryce says he took the girl in Dekker's basement to the police station. Where did you follow the hooded figure?
Whatever it is that's following me, it doesn't want to catch me yet. If I move towards it, it runs away. And when I follow it past temptations. A bar brawl, an open till, an open bedroom window. Like it's testing me.
Tell me about the bar brawl.
I split the brawl up.
Tell me about the open till.
I did nothing. I'm not stealing any more.
Tell me about the bedroom window.
I looked in. Watching other people is somehow built into our genes, Doctor.
No.
There was an old woman in bed. I went inside. Her bed covers were smoking. I think she'd fallen asleep holding a cigarette. I took the covers and put them in the bath. She'd have died otherwise. And no, I didn't take any pictures.
Oh, well, I'm glad to see you have some morals. Okay, did you bury David Castleford?
I'm actually a classically trained pallbearer. There are a lot of health and safety considerations. Not everybody can do it. Well, properly at least. Occasionally I step in if the funeral director is short-shouldered. I do remember her face. She wasn't upset in the usual way. She seemed agitated. Her husband must have been a giant. The coffin was so heavy. I remember because aft port side sprained his ankle. That and he wasn't lifting correctly.
Did Claire ask you to do something with David's body?
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, Doctor. I saw Claire Castleford's husband in the coffin myself before carrying him to the grave. He is in the ground. I'm sure it wouldn't take much for the police to get an order to have him exhumed. Just make sure it's done on Tuesday morning when I'm off.
Because it says I should tell Claire Bryce says her husband is in the ground. Have you seen Jessica again?
Jessica is a beautiful woman. I've not spied on her since the incident we talked about. I have real feelings for her, Doctor. We've never connected.
Maybe you should try talking to Jessica.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. It's nice you think I'm capable of such basic interaction with females. But I'm still in awe of her, really. I will think about it, though.
How's your job?
I put my hand through a rusty nail at work today. It hurt like hell and bled like I'd been shot. I closed my eyes and thought, this isn't happening. The nail is just a worm, and it will wriggle through me. When I looked back, can you guess what I saw?
What did you see when you looked at your hand?
When I looked back at my hand, it was healed. Look, see?
How did did your hand heal?
My hand had healed. The nail had become a worm and was wriggling in my palm. It was like a little miracle. Like magic.
Do you think magic healed your hand?
I shouldn't really say miracle or magic. They're words that Doctor Dekker used when he tried to get you to think things and make them real. But do you think it's real, Doctor? That magic is real?
No, magic isn't real.
And so it isn't. I envy you, Doctor. I wish I could be so sure.
What did you say why did you say aft port side?
I find using nautical terms to describe the position of pallbearers fitting. Plus, most of them are 3 sheets to the wind. You know, drunk.
Okay, so we got no more questions for him. Let's go to Claire. So how are you today?
I've been to the lake house regularly, keeping an eye on David. I saw the girl again, the one I told you about. She was playing outside.
Okay, have you seen your arrest report?
It makes for interesting reading, doesn't it? I can tell you're dying to ask me about it. Fire away.
The arrest report says you were arrested for murder.
That's what it says. I can see you're confused. The police say that David is dead, fatally wounded when I stabbed him. The coroner says that David is dead. Everyone says that David is dead. There was even a funeral. But I know he's alive.
How could you have a funeral if David isn't dead?
He's buried at Henley Church. You can go see for yourself. There's even a headstone. One of your other patients was a pallbearer. I never forget her face. You should ask him.
Did you intend to fatally wound him?
David wanted to have a talk about our relationship. Not something any married person wants to hear. He said he'd been with Iris for about a year and that he loved her. He said he didn't love me anymore. Which I know is a lie. You don't just fall out of love with somebody. I reacted badly. I grabbed the nearest weapon I could find, which happened to be the steak knife, and stabbed him with it. There was so much blood. I instantly regretted it. So I fixed him.
How did you fix him?
It was about a week later. I brought David back to life. Not with voodoo, not with virginal sacrifice. I just willed it to happen, and it did. Dr. Dekker told me it was possible, but only if you're not buried. He says once you're in the ground, there's no coming back. But until then, you have a chance at resurrection.
Did you resurrect David?
Yes, resurrection. But now that I've seen the results, I don't think there's anything holy about it. I think reanimation is more an accurate term. Like I'm an evil necromancer raising things from the dead.
What were the results of David's resurrection?
I think his brain was already decaying during the week that he was dead. Important bits. So when I brought him back to life, I didn't heal him completely. Just gave him life in the state he was in. I mean, he's hunting and killing things and trying to roast them on fires he can only light with matches, but that's about it. He's your basic Neanderthal. So I have a problem.
What problem do you have?
I'm being charged with murder because the police don't know he's still alive, and I can't get David to vouch for me for obvious reasons. I think it would raise quite a few more questions than answers, which is why I'm hoping that you would be able to help me.
How can I help you?
Considering the circumstances, I'd be grateful if you could see your way to declaring me temporarily insane at the time of the murder, to lessen my sentence. Because I'm not a killer, but I can't prove otherwise. You don't still think I'm a killer, do you, Doctor?
Yes, you're a killer. No, you're not. Okay, so I want to stay on her side. Hopefully, maybe I can get some more information if I do that. So I'm going to go, no, you're not a killer.
Thank you, Doctor. So then you'll help me. You'll say I was temporarily insane.
No, you weren't temporarily insane. Yes, I can declare you're temporarily insane. Well, I would probably want to agree with her. I would think. Let's just agree with her.
Thank you, Doctor. That's all I needed to hear. From you or Dr. Dekker. But Dr. Dekker wouldn't do that for me. He wanted something else.
What else did Dekker want?
Dr. Dekker teased me mercilessly about my alleged ability. He didn't believe I'd reanimated David. Once, he presented me with a dead mouse and commanded me to give it life again. I didn't, of course. It's not something I'd throw around lightly. He changed his mind about me eventually. And then he mentioned the girl.
What girl did Dekker mention?
He told me he'd locked up a girl in the basement of his house. Just for me. And he asked me to reanimate her. It was Iris. I said I couldn't reanimate something that wasn't dead, and he said that wouldn't be a problem. So I agreed. I just played along. I was hoping it wasn't real. I assumed it wasn't real. But he was offering me what I wanted. A temporary insanity diagnosis.
Okay, so Claire says the girl in Deckard's basement was Iris. Did you help Iris?
It didn't happen. Dr. Dekker called me from his house to cancel. He was furious. He said that Iris had escaped and he blamed me for it. He said that I must have set her free after he told me about her. I knew it was all lies anyways. He was obviously titillating himself by reprimanding me. He knew I'd never want to speak to Iris again, so I couldn't prove it either way.
Which patient was a pallbearer?
Bryce was a pallbearer for David. He's also a gravedigger, I believe.
How do you know Bryce?
Smuggling a body out of a funeral can be difficult, unless you pay the right people.
Because I should tell Bryce that Claire says he's been smuggling bodies. What changed Decker's mind?
Dr. Dekker asked if I could prove David wasn't dead, so I took him to the lake house. He saw that I was telling the truth. I can take you to see him too, if you like. Would you like to see David, Doctor?
Yes, I'd like to see David.
Very well. In our next session.
Do you know anything about the paper spike?
A paper spike is an odd thing to use as a weapon. I suppose if it went directly into the heart, it might work. Or through his eye, or perhaps through the ear into his brain. Or was it just a frenzied, bloody mess of a murder? Do you know, Doctor?
That kind of scares me how she just says that. How is it possible David was brought back to life?
You tell me. What could possibly explain that?
Do you think you might be seeing David's ghost?
I assure you, David is not a ghost. I've touched him.
Is David not human?
Since I brought him back, I felt that there was something different about him, something not quite right. I think it's his brain. But how ludicrous that you can bring someone back in the first place. It's like that book, Pet Cemetery. Funnily enough, he does smell of earth, but that's because he spends most of his time out hunting.
Are you lying about David being alive?
If David doesn't exist, then that means that I really did kill him. He really is buried, and I really should be going to prison for a very long time. That just doesn't seem right to me. It's more probable that I reanimated him under Dr. Dekker's guidance.
Are you lying about never seeing Dekker outside of your sessions?
How astute, Doctor. Yes, I did say I hadn't seen Dr. Dekker outside of our sessions. That wasn't a lie. Our trip to the lake house was made during a session.
Did you speak to the girl at the lake house?
I didn't speak to her this time. Something about her made me feel uneasy. I just watched her from the bedroom window. She'd caught a fish. She was holding it in her hands.
What did the girl do with the fish?
I wasn't close enough to see, but for all intents and purposes, it looked as if the fish bit her. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish alive.
That was very scary. It's very scary what she did with her face there. Just how she smiled and stuff. Okay, let's go to Elin. Okay, so how are you today?
I'm fine. Work's fine. Hilda's fading fast. Terry's... Terry. Oh, you'd be pleased to know I don't have the locket anymore. I gave it back. All of it. Every single keepsake.
Do you know about the paper spike?
It's true then. I'd heard Dr. Dekker was stabbed, but I didn't know for sure. It's weird that whoever did it would choose the paper spike.
Why is it weird the paper spike was used?
Dr. Dekker used to play with it in our sessions sometimes. You know, pick it up, handle it while we talked. I remember once, he pushed the spike through his skin. At this bit, here, between his thumb and his finger. He said he didn't think I'd mind the sight of blood, being a nurse and all that, but actually, there wasn't any.
Why wasn't there any blood from the paper spike?
I was a bit freaked out. At first, I thought it was a trick. A magic trick, you know? Like some kind of therapeutic test. Show the patient this retractable spike and see how they react. But it wasn't. The spike was real.
How do you know the spike was real?
Dr. Dekker gave me the paper spike to try. It wasn't fake. It was pretty sharp, actually. I don't know how he did it. He said he just thought that it wouldn't hurt him, so it didn't.
How's Hilda?
Hilda's nearing the end. She's been sleeping a lot, not eating much. She hasn't been that argumentative either. Although, she did give me a vicious scratch yesterday.
Why did Hilda scratch you?
It was nothing. I was just trying to give her meds. It's hard, you know? I'm trying to help her, but she keeps fighting me. It'll be better after she's seen her daughter. I've decided I'm going to do it tonight. She hasn't got much time left.
Do what tonight?
You know the answer to that, Doctor. What have we been talking about? What can I do for Hilda that will make it all better?
It says, Eileen is going to pretend to be Hilda's daughter. Are you going to kill Hilda? Are you going to pretend to be Hilda's daughter tonight?
That's the plan. plan. I know, it sounds unbelievable, like I'm making it up. I wish I could prove it to you somehow. We could try shifting now. Think of someone you really love. It might help if you close your eyes. Are you thinking of? Can you picture them? Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I don't think it's going to work. On the bright side, that probably means you're not going to die anytime soon.
I guess that's a good thing. What do you say when you shift?
It's tricky. I mean, I'll sound exactly like Hilda's daughter, but I try and keep it vague because I don't become her. I don't know what she would really say. I say things like, it's okay, don't be scared, I love you, Mum, or I love you, Dad. But it doesn't really matter what their relationship's like because it's not really them. I always do the Disney version. The best, most loving version. That's what my patients want to hear. And maybe deep down they know it's not the truth, but it's got to be better than the reality.
Why bother shifting if patients know it's not the truth?
Does it really matter if it isn't the truth? Isn't it worth it if it brings them peace? Tell me honestly, Doctor, do you really think that what I'm doing is wrong?
I mean, well, depending on the situation, if they don't get along with their loved one, I would say it'd be wrong. So I'll say yes, shifting is wrong.
So you're saying I should let Hilda die without seeing her daughter one last time?
Well, I don't think she should let Hilda die alone either, so no, don't let Hilda die alone.
Good, because I really feel this is something I have to do. Like it's my calling or something.
Why did you give the locket back?
You told me to. Well, not in so many words, but you said I shouldn't have kept them. And what with Terry going around telling everyone I stole them, I didn't feel like I really had any choice. The locket, the watch, the ring. But I kept the little bird Sarah Dekker gave me. I wasn't supposed to mention her.
Who is Sarah Dekker?
Dr. Dekker's mother. She was one of my first patients, but she died a while ago.
How is Terry?
Terry seems to have backed down since I gave the keepsakes back. Actually, it doesn't seem like she's been very well. Not her usual self. Maybe she's got a bug or something.
Or maybe you poisoned her. Did you talk to Dr. Dekker about Hilda?
Dr. Dekker didn't know about Hilda. I don't think I mentioned her to him.
Why did you say I'm not going to die soon?
As far as I know, it only works on people who are close to death. That's the whole point of it. I have to hold their hand, and they have to think of the person, and they have to be near death. And those seem to be the 3 criteria.
Why didn't you want me to know about Sarah Dekker?
It just makes things complicated, doesn't it? I knew Dr. Dekker's mother before I started seeing Dr. Dekker. She's dead, and now he's dead. I'm sure you're going to have a field day with it.
Just hope I don't end up dead. Did you know Sarah Dekker was Dr. Dekker's mother?
Yeah, that's the reason I came to see him. I knew she was dying, but he refused to talk to me unless I booked a session, so I did. And well, here we are.
Why did Dr. Dekker refuse to talk about his mum?
I told Dr. Dekker that his mum was dying, that he should see her before it's too late. But he wasn't interested. It wasn't like he hated her. It was just like it wasn't important. He asked me to take care of it for him. He did send his assistant along to see her once. Sorry, your assistant.
What did Dr. Dekker mean by take care of it?
It was about the second, third session we had. He said he could tell that I was a good person, that I wanted to help people, and that I should think really hard about how I could do that. That's how I discovered shifting.
Was it Dr. Dekker's idea for you to shift?
I think Dr. Dekker showed me something that was always there. I've always wanted to help people. I hate to see people suffer. I don't think Dr. Dekker made me into a shifter, but I don't think I'd be doing what I do if it wasn't for him. His mum was one of the first ones I tried shifting for.
Did you shift for Sarah?
I didn't really know what I was doing that first time. I mean, I didn't actually expect anything to happen. I just thought, what would really help this woman? I thought maybe she would just imagine that he was there. But it actually happened. I changed into him, Dr. Dekker. It blew my mind.
Okay, so... let's go to Jaya. How are you today?
I'm fine. I'm ready for my grief counselling. I emailed you Mariana's address. I don't know why you'd want it. I suppose you're going to start doing home visits now, like Dr. Dekker?
Why would I want Mariana's address?
Doctor, if you don't want it, don't text me and ask for it. It's all right. I don't mind doing menial tasks for you. Someone has to do them.
Home visits?
Yes, Dr. Dekker started doing home visits for Mariana. He said she couldn't concentrate properly in his office. I hope you're not thinking of doing the same thing. I need you right where I can see you.
Are you spying on me?
Checks and balances, Doctor. Somebody needs to be watching the watchman, so to speak. Make sure you're helping, not hindering.
Guess I should ask Mariana about Dekker's home visits. Okay, was Dr. Dekker helping or hindering?
He probably did his fair share of helping and hindering. He was definitely helping in the beginning, but then seemed to lose sight of things.
How did Dr. Dekker lose sight of things?
I think he was so overwhelmed by the patients he was getting. His curiosity just got the better of him. There was a definite turning point.
What was the definite turning point for Dekker?
Somewhere around the time Professor Alderby turned up, that seemed to unsettle him. And then we had a flood of extra weird patients. I think it was all too much for him. I think I misjudged him. I hope you deal with it better.
Shall we talk about grief today?
Grief is such a strange word if you keep saying it. Grief, grief, grief. It sounds like somebody's being whipped. And you're going to ask me how I feel today?
I did. Any news on Ben?
I think that's all settled now. We are agreeing to pay Ben £5,000 and he's agreeing not to say anything about what he saw.
What did Ben see?
He thought he saw a creature coming out of Dr. Dekker's mouth. Well, at least that's the reason he's given for not emptying the bins that night. Either way, it's not the kind of publicity that we need. Shiny, happy, sane people.
Okay, tell me about the paper spike.
It's in that police report that I gave to you. You should really take a look at it.
I did. Anything else to share about Dekker?
Some mornings I come into work and still expect him to be here. Sometimes it feels like he actually is here, watching over me. We had a connection. It's gone now, though. Can't have a connection with the dead, can you? Not for too long, anyway.
What connection?
Dr. Dekker asked me to have dinner with him for Valentine's. I refused, obviously, because you don't sleep where you eat or something like that. But it was flattering, especially with competition like Mariana around.
Is Mariana competition?
Sorry, I didn't mean I was competing. I was happy Mariana was going out with him. I didn't want to be romantic with him. We had a stronger connection than that.
Why was it a stronger connection?
Dr. Dekker and I shared some philosophy. We'd both read The Cult of the Kinetic Mind, and we agreed with a lot of what it said. Have you read that book, Doctor?
I haven't read Cult of the Kinetic Mind.
In Cult of the Kinetic Mind, the author suggests that everyone is capable of psychokinesis, and that the cult leaders specifically had these powers that turned their followers into disciples. It's not a fun read, but if you're into psychology, it's a blast.
Okay, so what is psychokinesis? What is psychokinesis?
Psychokinesis is the ability to change the physical world without actually touching it, just by using your mind. It's not just about bending spoons. It covers all sorts of things like telepathy, telekinesis, telesabalas. Shoot me, I'm a Kojak fan.
Do you believe in psychokinesis?
Like I said, all those cool things are in Cult of the Kinetic Mind, apart from Kojak, obviously. If you ever get a patient who thinks they can change the world with just their mind, then duck, just in case they can. But seriously, do a whole load of shrinking and make them better. Whether you believe in psychokinesis or not, you'll need to figure out your approach with those that do.
What approach?
How do you make people who think they have special powers better? Do you remain passive and support, encourage them, take them away?
Be passive, encourage their powers, remove their powers. Probably remove their powers.
That's what I'd try to do.
Is psychokinesis common?
No, not at all in my experience. Dr. Dekker had an unusual number of patients who claimed psychokinesis. Either he'd been specifically looking for them or someone had been sending them.
Why would someone send psychokinetic patients here?
It's entirely possible that someone is targeting this practice with psychokinetic patients. To what end, I don't know. It's no coincidence that most psychokinetic patients are diagnosed as insane, or at least temporarily insane. It's a handy diagnosis if you're facing criminal prosecution, especially if it's for murder.
What did you do on Valentine's?
I was at home on my lonesome, Doctor, like I said before.
Why couldn't Mariana concentrate in the office?
Honestly, I think Dr. Dekker had a bit of a crush on Mariana, or vice versa. I'm not really sure. There's some footage from their home sessions if you want to see them.
Yes, show me the footage.
That was a joke, Doctor. I guess we found our level.
Could have been helpful. Why does grief sound like being whipped?
Oops, that was a strange thing to say, wasn't it? Whipped. Am I all whips and chains in the bedroom or dominant in the boardroom? Don't answer that, it's not a question. It's early days for a harassment suit yet, what with Ben's nervous shock already.
Well, that's hilarious. I mean, you're the one that brought it up. What do you know about Dr. Dekker's mother?
Dr. Dekker did send me to see his mother once. She was dying in a nursing home and he didn't want to see her. I remember him calling her a manipulative, evil old hag. You tend not to ask any more questions after that.
Did you talk to Nathan much?
I didn't really speak to Nathan that much at all, but I have this strange feeling that I know him really well. I can't quite put my finger on it.
Okay, so we've asked all of her questions, so let's move on to Mariana. How are you today?
I'm okay. Thanks for asking. It's rent day, and I always feel a little blue on rent day.
Do you know anything about the paper spike?
Dr. Dekker used to put my checks on that thing. I guess someone thought they weren't getting value for money.
You mentioned checks?
I actually don't have a lot of money. Sometimes a therapy check would bounce, but Dr. Dekker would be okay with it. Oh, my checks are fine though, don't worry.
Do you have money problems?
I'm not broke. Men buy me drinks at bars, though. Sometimes I'll get away with not paying at restaurants. Isn't that how it is for everybody?
Yet again, she implies that she drinks, but says she doesn't. So do you often go to bars and restaurants?
I mainly like drive-thrus. I don't like crowds, and I find it difficult to stay in the same place for too long. I guess I'm a fidget.
You dislike crowds but visit nightclubs.
Crowds at nightclubs and bars are different. The lights are dim. You can slink around without attracting too much attention.
Why slink?
Sometimes I'll kiss a guy in a club, and then he just follows me wherever I go. It's creepy. I don't want everyone seeing that.
Maybe you shouldn't kiss guys in bars. Where do people follow you?
They follow me wherever I go. Anywhere. Where do you think they follow me, Doctor?
Okay, so Mariana wants me to guess where people follow her. What happens after they follow her? Okay, what happens after people follow you?
It depends where they follow me. If they follow me home, they bang on the door for an hour or so, then leave. Other places, they just disappear. I don't see them again.
What do you mean they disappear?
They don't just disappear into thin air. I think they return to the place I found them. But I've not run into the same person twice.
Before you mention something beautiful,
You've got a good memory, Doctor. Let's talk dreams. Sometimes I'll dream about a light, deep in the ocean somewhere. I head towards it. It's warm and glowing. A beacon. And when I'm at the bottom, it's the most beautiful thing. Like a welcoming sun. Like I'm home. And then I wake up.
why a beacon?
It's so beautiful. It calls me. It's like I'm in a trance. What does the dream mean, Doctor?
Okay, so Mariana's dreams could mean many things. A metaphor for her current issues, searching for something, or maybe she's making it up. Maybe the dream means you're searching for something.
I guess. I hate being in the same place for too long. Maybe I'm always searching for paradise or something.
What's rent day?
Rent day is the day I pay rent to my landlady.
Have you had any more blackouts?
I've had no blackouts, and I haven't been to the beach since our last session. But I think I will today. Do you want to come with me to the beach?
Maybe someone should come with you to the beach.
Doctor, I think you're getting a little anxious. If you ever wanted to visit the beach, you could just turn up. It's not mine.
You're okay with men buying you drinks?
It's just good manners to accept when someone offers to buy you a drink. I'm a very good-natured girl.
Why are you good-natured?
Don't you think I'm sweet, Doctor?
Let's just agree with her. Yes, you're
I
sweet.
think you're falling for me, Doctor. Don't let that get in the way of helping me.
Because somebody calls you sweet does not mean they're following for you. Do people ever follow you home?
Yes. They follow me home. They're silent. It's like a trance.
Do they follow you to bed?
There was one guy. A real gym body. I let him into the bedroom, but nothing. Nothing I did would stop him just staring at me. It was creepy. I got him to follow me outside, and then I just shut the door.
Talk to me about Dekker.
Are we still talking about him? And I thought you were just interested in me, Doctor.
Did Dekker visit you at home?
Dr. Dekker suggested home visits. I think he was probably checking up on his investment. You're not thinking of doing home visits, are you, Doctor?
No, I'm not thinking of doing home visits.
That's good. I'm not sure I can afford any more of your time.
Okay, so let's move on to Nathan. How are you today?
The burned Hannah's rocking chair. The day moved forward. It was a good choice. I'm not sure I've got much left of hers now. I've burnt most of it, or given it away, just to make the days move forward. There was a moment when I was attacking a Salvation Army bin. I gave in.
What else can you tell me about Dekker?
I've told you all I know about Dr. Dekker. He started out good, then turned a bit crazy towards the end. When you start giving people more problems as a therapist, that's a bit crazy.
What problems did Dekker give you?
I started out with depression. Now I seem to repeat days. Even if you don't believe the repeat days, then I clearly have extra mental health problems that he's given me.
It's funny, I mean, like if you're a psychologist or a counselor or something like that, and you're giving people more problems, you probably should not be one. Because that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to help people, not cause them drama and problems and stuff like that. Why was Dekker crazy?
I think they possibly curse other people, a bit like he cursed me. Sometimes you could see he was bursting to tell me about it, but he couldn't. He was ecstatic with power.
How did Dekker curse you?
Curse. Or remembered. I was hoping he'd forget. It's going to sound crazy. Dr. Dekker said I would never be able to move forward until I came to terms with my grief. And so from this point on, I start to relive the same day over and over again until I made something of it. I believed it.
Why did you believe Dekker?
I didn't want to believe him. I remember I said, you can't just say things and they happen. He laughed and laughed. I think he was going mad. He said he'd give me a demonstration.
What demonstration?
He held his hand outstretched and told me to look at the flame. There was no flame, and then there was. He was holding a flame in his hand that had come out of nowhere. And he tried to hypnotize me to make me forget it.
You remember the flame even though he hypnotized you?
I didn't forget seeing the flame. He wanted me to forget it all, but I didn't. For whatever reason, he couldn't undo what he'd done. I was scared. I pretended like the hypnosis had worked.
Why were you scared?
I was scared what Dr. Dekker would do to me if he found out I still knew. So I had to play along. Keep coming to the sessions. Pretend I hadn't seen what he'd done. It was awful, because I was suffering through the same days over and over again. But I couldn't talk to him about it, because he'd know.
What happened with the Salvation Army bin?
I accidentally put Hannah's diary into a Salvation Army donation bin. They're like huge post boxes with a circular tray that makes sure things spill to the bottom. I tried to get in to get it back, but I gave up.
Did you read the diary?
I read the last few weeks of Hannah's diary a while ago. I must have accidentally dropped in some clothes for the Salvation Army bin. It's funny, because I wasn't going to read it. She said she'd fallen out of love with me. That she was going to break off the engagement. That she didn't love me anymore. I regretted it.
Why did you regret it?
I regretted that I mourned for Hannah so long. I regret the grief. I regret all the days I slept through because of it. Had I known she didn't love me anymore, things would have been different. I'm a bit angry now. If I had that day over again, I may just still pull out in front of the driver.
Do you know about the paper spike?
I didn't notice Dr. Dekker had a paper spike. I haven't really seen more than a foot in front of me since Hannah died.
Should we talk about Hannah?
Can we maybe not talk about Hannah anymore? And thanks for the dating advice, by the way.
Did you follow my dating advice?
You told me not to look for anyone else until I was ready. So I didn't. I've just been sitting at home, reading Hannah's diary, stewing.
That's not a good
I
thing.
ordered a pizza. A nice girl delivered it.
Why did Dekker want you to forget?
He'd become bored of me, so I got much of my insight from calls or messages he'd take during our sessions. I think because he hypnotized me, he didn't want to play with me anymore, so I got basic therapist.
What's a basic therapist?
He told me lots of people get depression, to become more active, see more people. And although he wouldn't always be there to listen, Jaya would be.
Do you know Jaya well?
Yeah, I talked to her quite a lot. I'm not sure how many days of that she'd remember. She seemed to care, which is more I can say for Dekker.
Okay, so Nathan says he talked to Jaya a lot. I should ask her. Let's see. Did you kill Dekker so you wouldn't have to suffer through repeat days?
I didn't kill Dr. Dekker. I wanted to be as far away from him as possible. I don't know who did.
Tell me more about the pizza girl.
It took a week of days to get that pizza girl to smile. And you know what did it? A tip, as much as the pizza cost. So money does make you happy.
Okay, so that's all his questions, all there. Okay, so let's just go ahead and go on to the next day.
You can stop looking at me like that. You've made me do this. And don't try and escape. We're all tied up. Now tell me the truth. Is this a dream?
Yes, it's a dream.
That's a good doctor. Yes, it's all a big dream. So let's get down to business. Do you believe that people can have kinetic powers?
I mean, well, she told me they can, so yes, people can have kinetic powers.
And how do we treat people with kinetic powers? Do we encourage them or do we discourage them?
Well, she said to discourage them, so I should discourage people.
Very good, Doctor. That's the right answer. Remember it, or there will be consequences. Now, since I'm here, let's have a little bit of fun. Shall we, Doctor?
No thank you. Your idea of fun and my idea are two different things. So no thank you. Alright everyone, well that's where we're going to end it for now. Hopefully you've been enjoying the infectious madness of Dr. Dekker. I mean, it's really an interesting game. It's one of my favorite deduction type games. Let me know what you think down in the comments about the story so far and the characters and their powers and stuff like that. Please leave me a like, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you next time. Bye.